Hello, and welcome back to the Bleacher Preacher podcast. It is NBA draft night, Rob. How are we doing tonight?
Doing good.
And with it being NBA draft night, it is the time of the year where we can look at the incoming youth of the NBA. We've seen, obviously, the Zion hype finally come to a build. It's official. He's going to be a Pelican. We love what the Pelicans look like right now after their cash out on Anthony Davis, because this is a really good young core. And now it's topped off with Zion.
Yeah, going with just Anthony Davis and not a lot of assets to getting rid of Solomon Hill's contract, to having Lonzo, to having Drew Holiday, to having Etuan Moore, Brandon Ingram, Jaleel Okafor is back, who's shown a little bit of not promise, but it shows like he can hang in the league, adding Zion to this mix as well. And then going out picking Jackson Hayes, going out picking the kid from West Virginia, Nikhil Alexander Walker, or not from West Virginia, from Virginia Tech. I'm sorry. 3 first-rounders added to the young core. They look this. It's crazy. Like they never did this when Anthony Davis was there. They never surrounded Anthony Davis with this much young talent and this much potential. Having a good draft pick like Buddy Hield and trading him away for Boogie Cousins. And, it's Boogie. Of course, you do that trade, but not necessarily the best fit with Anthony Davis, And then now they have Zion, and he's just surrounded by so much youth, so much talent. They're just going to be a fun team to watch.
And that's what I think New Orleans had to do. What was best for him is let's get young, let's get exciting. Yeah, they're going to lose some frustrating games this year, but they're going in the right direction. You have youth, you have assets, you have flexibility. And I really like how New Orleans is shaped up. That being said, though, it is the West. There could be a power change here or there. We could see some teams slip down a little bit from where we're normally used to seeing them. So someone's going to have to take the spot. What's it not to say that New Orleans is going to be one of those teams scrapping it out for the 7 or 8 seeds?
Definitely. There's always going to be turnaround. And I like moving forward to another team in the West, and another team that I like picking at number 2, Memphis, trading away Mike Conley to Utah, and then picking his successor in Jay Morant, and then using that pick that they acquired from Utah to take Brandon Clark. So Brandon Clark, Jay Morant, and Jaren Jackson Jr. as their 3 little young nucleus. I like. I love Brandon Clark's game. I think he's going to be like a Pascal Siakam, as like a Draymond Green, just a guy that's going to run hard, play hard defense, and get those. He's going to dirty it up and get those dirty points. Jay Morant's going to be a star, and I love what Jaren Jackson Jr. can become as a stretch 5. So Memphis did really good today as well. Memphis, if all things go well, and I know they're a really young team, Memphis could be a team that surprises you, and kind of like the Kings last year, and just wins 35, 40 games, and at least is competitive night in, night out.
And I think that's what Morant brings to him, is competitiveness, because his big MO has been going to the small school, being, the guy that wasn't getting a lot of looks, a lot of attention, and he essentially let his game do the talking for him. And if you guys haven't seen highlights of Ja Morant while he was at Murray State, after you're done listening to this podcast, because we appreciate you listening, head over to YouTube and give this man the attention he deserves, because he is going to be a force, I think, in the next couple of years, if not sooner than later.
Definitely. Moving on, I guess, down to the draft, the Knicks got RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett was the consensus number 1 player until Zion appeared in Duke. Now, there was much maligned about the Knicks possibly trading for Anthony Davis. That didn't go through. The Knicks possibly signing KD in free agency. KD tears or ruptures his Achilles. Kyrie maybe in free agency, but Kyrie looks like he's going to be a Brooklyn Net. Maybe getting the first pick for Zion and losing that out, getting RJ Barrett number 3. RJ Barrett is a consolation prize, but he's not the worst consolation prize. The Knicks are still behind the 8 ball, but I think RJ Barrett is a really good player, and he's gonna help.
And it's going to be tough for the Knicks because, yes, they're still stuck in their 30-year rebuild, but I think RJ is a good starting point, but they're going to need to surround him with viable talent and actual support system. You just can't toss a 19, 20-year-old kid out there on one of the biggest stages in all of basketball and telling him to, show out, figure it out, make things happen. The Knicks, I know they're always enabling free agency, but like you said, there's no definites to anybody going there now. And even if by some act of the basketball gods, you're a year and a half away from KD possibly coming back, and even then he might not even be back at full strength, assuming you even sign him.
Yeah, definitely. You would spend the money for KD because it is KD, but I mean, they're at such like a crossroad. Like everything went wrong from what the plan really was. So it sucks to be a Knicks fan. It's always sucked to be a Knicks fan. But as long as they don't screw it up, RJ Barrett is going to be a good player for him. But that's a big if.
So just look at the Knicks. It's going to be RJ Barrett, Dennis Smith Jr., Kevin Knox. That's not a terrible three to start with. I think all of them are under the age of 21 right now. So,
and then Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson is a really good defensive center who just fouls a lot, but that's because he contests a lot of shots at the rim. So as long as like Mitchell Robinson plays 20, 25 minutes a night, he stays out of foul trouble. Like that's a good young nucleus. But they just need more. They just need more. Like, 'cause I don't think Knox and Smith and Mitchell Robinson are going to be like all-star players. I think RJ Barrett has a chance to be an all-star player, but they just need more.
Yeah, those other guys, I think they're borderline. Well, they're starter level, which is good enough in the NBA, but I don't see any of those guys making all-star teams whatsoever. And New York is priding themselves on being, the basketball mecca to where you have to be a star in the NBA to shine out there. We think RJ can be a star, but it's not going to come for at least a couple of years, and he's carrying an already heavy burden by having to carry the tortured Knicks franchise. So it's gonna be a while before the Knicks are back in the mix. Assuming again, free agency I know is next week. A lot can change with that, but we don't necessarily see that happening this year.
Yeah, moving on. The Hawks took DeAndre Hunter at 4, and they took Cam Reddish at 10. They traded up. They traded number 8 and 17 to the Pelicans to go up and pick their guy at number 4. DeAndre Hunter had one workout this draft process, and that was to Atlanta, so that was their guy. DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish, Kevin Huerter, Trae Young, John Collins. They took Bruno Fernando in the second round. They're building a nice young nucleus there in Atlanta, and then they're set up. They have a nice young nucleus. They got a star in Trae Young. I think they make a little bit of noise. I think they win 30 to 40 games, and they fight for a playoff spot in the East. Everybody, it was the much maligned trade. Atlanta lost. They gave up Luka Doncic to go get Trae Young. But they did get Cam Reddish. It was pretty much Trae Young and Cam Reddish for Luka Doncic. That was what the Dallas Mavericks first-round pick ended up being, was Cam Reddish. And I think, honestly, now, a year later, it's looking like they won that trade.
That was going to be my connection to it, is like a year later, look at what the Hawks core and roster looks like versus what the Mavs are looking like, and who do you think is in the better position? I think we're in consensus it's the Hawks because
well, if KP is 100% healthy, then that's a big game changer. I would take KP and Luka Doncic over Trae Young and John Collins, just because I think KP is the best player out of that bunch if he's healthy. If KP is only 80%, 85% after that injury, then John Collins isn't that far behind. John Collins is 20 and 10 and 40% from 3. So I mean, John Collins isn't that that much worse and than KP, but it's kind of neck and neck in my opinion.
Again, this is going to be the trade that connects the two franchises now for the next 15, 20 years. So we won't see who wins until their careers pan out. But going off your point about liking how the Hawks kind of set themselves up to win, I think this is going to be good. They're going to be good.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. Probably gonna have another lottery pick next season. Maybe they do. Go out, get a couple free agents, and make them run the playoffs. But they're set up nicely for the future. Moving on to the Cavs. Not sure what the Cavs were doing. They took Colin Sexton last year at number 10. Took Darius Garland, another point guard, this year at 5. Took Kevin Porter Jr., who's probably better with the ball in his hand as like as a ball in his hand guard, not really like a pure point guard, but a shooting guard with the ball in his hands. And then they took the kid from Belmont, Dylan Winder. He can score. He's like Doug McDermott, but I mean Doug McDermott didn't have like the best NBA career. You would say, I mean, well, he's made over $30 million in his NBA career, so I guess it's successful.
That's your boy Dougie Buckets.
Yeah, I mean, but Windler at 25 versus McDermott at like 10 is a big difference. But yeah, he's the second coming of Doug McDermott, and the Cavs just are getting people. They're sooner. No, they had 3 first-round picks, and they're bringing in 3 talented guys that can score, and hopefully a couple of them stick. Hopefully Colin Sexton keeps maturing and whatnot, and they find players. Hopefully they can get Kevin Love out of here. I'm surprised Kevin Love and J.R. Smith didn't get traded tonight, honestly. So I thought J.R. Smith was gone for sure, and I think Kevin Love can be gone for sure. So we'll see what's going on with that. But yeah, not much left on the Cavs, in my opinion.
That's the tough part about the NBA draft is if it's not those storylines of teams like the Cavs doing these head scratcher moves after your top, 5 to 10, or I would say probably after the top 10, just to be safe, it does get a little convoluted. It's a lot of project players. Guys are going to take a little bit to get going. But there is one team, Rob, that always stands out to always do something stupid. It is your favorite team to talk about, the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, not sure.
Boy, did they punt one out today?
Not sure what's going on with the Phoenix Suns. They traded number 6 to the Minnesota Timberwolves for number 11 and Dario Saric, which in essence isn't a bad trade. But then they took Cameron Johnson. You gonna answer that? No,
it's going twice. Hold on. I'm gonna have to edit this out. This is gonna keep rolling.
Wow. All right. In the middle of a live recording, John's just gonna go ahead and answer his phone.
All I can say is sometimes always negotiate your salary to handle problems when you're not in a building, but that's for another conversation. So I'll be doing about an extra 20 minutes of editing. But where did we pick off?
We're still live. Like, you couldn't have pressed stop. You know?
I know. That's where I was like, I don't think if I hit stop then go, I was like, I thought about it halfway through. I'm like, ooh, nothing. I'm off tomorrow. I can do some editing.
Wow. All right. Yeah. Just
No worries. But yeah, long story short, they've been having problems with the lights in the system arming itself off a timer. Apparently, that timer wiped itself out or something, and they couldn't get the lights to come back on so that they could arm the store.
right.
I had to walk someone through like making sure everything was back on, make sure the timer starts counting, arm it, and then turning everything off. Basically, the alarm has to be the last thing to go off. It's a very unnecessary, convoluted system. It's again, they don't pay me enough for it.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, we can pick up where we left off now. I believe it was Phoenix was the last thing, and then we talked about them flipping TJ Warren.
We did not talk about TJ Warren. We were starting on Phoenix, and then your phone rang.
That is true. Okay, so started off right here. Do I have a timer on this? Let me see, just so I can have an idea. Wait, what's this? What's this? No, go away. No. Well, guessing we have to figure out the old-fashioned way. So, just have to splice this in, throw some nice music over it. So, whew. So, with that being said, though, Rob, there's always one team in the draft that loves to make things harder on themselves than it needs to be. And as per tradition, it's usually the Phoenix Suns who did it again. The Suns once again did some baffling moves, and then continue to just befuddle the entire basketball universe. Yes? No?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
So pretty much Phoenix wanted to move into a better draft position, but they make a deal with Minnesota to slide from 11 down to 6. But was it really necessary to do all that? And then going along with their confusing processes that they love to believe in, they're able to send off TJ Warren, who still might be good, but being in the Phoenix realm of things, hasn't really gotten it going yet. And then they also do another swapping of picks with Boston and also bring in Aaron Baines.
I'm not sure what they're doing. They're the worst. They're the worst team in the history of the league.
The history?
In the history of the league.
That's just the thing. It's, you've said your piece about Devin Booker. You've said, that we liked them when they had the 3-point guard offense a couple of seasons ago. But since then, like, none of their roster construction or drafting ideas or plans have really made any sense. And they stand true to tradition. That's all I can really say to that.
Yeah, so they take number 6 and they trade down to 11. They pick up Dario Saric. Dario Saric is a good player, sure. But then they take Cam Johnson at number 11, who is probably going to be there at 20. Then they take Cam Johnson. I don't know if Cam Johnson was their guy that they really wanted, but could have traded down from 11 down to 18 and get him. Could have traded 11 down to like 22 and get him. And that's on top of that, trading away TJ Warren for peanuts. I don't even know what they got for TJ Warren. TJ Warren's a really good player.
I believe I believe it was the 31st pick in the draft. Let me see here. I know it was with Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana got a good player.
Yeah, the number 32 pick.
And the number 32 pick ended up being traded to Miami. So I mean, I'm just not sure what they're doing or what's going on. They did pick up Ty Jerome, Ty Jerome and Aaron Baines, I guess, for number 22, number 24. They traded number 22 to Boston for number 24 and Aaron Baines, and they picked up Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome's a good little player, nothing too special. I would say they could have just stood pat at 24 and picked Cam Johnson. He probably would have been there and picked somebody else at 11. Could have picked literally anybody at 11, and it would have been so much better than what they picked in Cam Johnson. But yeah, not sure what Phoenix is doing. They're terrible. I hate talking about Phoenix.
I just hear the annoyance in your voice over them. But let's push it up to your Chicago Bulls. I think they're finally getting things figured out up in the Windy City.
Yeah, Kobe White's a good pick. Kobe White can shoot it.
Dead eye.
Kobe White can shoot it. Kobe White pushes transition a lot. He's going to push the tempo. He is still a little bit raw as a point guard, a little bit more turnover prone just because of the pace he plays at. Needs to rein it in to take the next step and play with a controlled pace, not just a frantic pace. And then they take Daniel Gafford in the second round, which, in my opinion, is a really good pick. He could be a guy that ends up being like a DeAndre Jordan or a Clint Capella type of pick from picking him late in the second round, or well, not late, but picking him early in the second round. I think he's going to be a quality player coming off the bench as well, backing up Wendell Carter Jr. That's the center. And I mean, just another lottery pick for Chicago. I still don't think they have too many stars on the team. I think Zach LaVine's good. I think Lauri Markkanen is good. I just don't think there's a superstar on the team. I don't think Kobe White becomes a superstar, but you draft who you can at where you are. And I think he was the best guy on the board in terms of talent as well as team need. So I think Chicago did a good job in the draft. We skipped over Minnesota, the other side of the Phoenix trade. They picked Jarrett Culver. I like Jarrett Culver. Jarrett Culver's going to fit in nicely with Minnesota. Wiggins, Covington, Culver.
Assuming Wiggins stays in Minnesota, because supposedly he's on the block as well.
Yeah, but it's going to be hard to trade Wiggins' contract. He's making too much money from how bad he actually is as a player. So moving on, Rui Hashimura, first Japanese player picked by Washington. He's probably going to be like an Otto Porter clone up in Washington, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit better rebounder. Good little pick by Washington, who has a lot more issues than worrying about if their draft pick is going to pan out, but at least they got a nice little player there to help them out.
Realistically, and I know it's a lot to expect because John Wall will be shelved for the next year and a half or so with his Achilles injury. Why don't the Wizards just listen to Brad Beal offers just to see how much they can bring in? Because this team right now ain't cutting it.
I'm sure they're listening to offers. They just probably haven't gotten an offer that they like. I wouldn't like you need to sell high on Bradley Beal. He's your best player. He's your best asset. They probably have a really high price tag on him, and no one's really met that price tag yet. So I would listen to offers on Brad Beal, yeah, but I wouldn't sell low.
Well, especially after seeing the haul for Anthony Davis. If you're going to be selling off a superstar, you're going to have to bring the goods this way.
Charlotte takes P.J. Washington, kind of a reach. P.J. Washington is a safe bet, safe player, but he's not a star. He's probably not going to be an all-star, but he's going to be a nice rotation player. At 12, you really can't do much. I mean, I know Donovan Mitchell went 12 a couple of years ago, but you're not really finding stars of Donovan Mitchell's caliber at number 12. Charlotte's got more pressing issues than actually worrying about the draft. Maybe Kemba leaving for good. We'll see about that. And then Romeo Langford, Tyler Hero. Romeo Langford had a up and down college season, did not shoot the ball really well. He's going to Boston. I think he'll be better in an NBA setting with more spacing. Uh, his draft stock did go down a lot. He was projected to be like a top 7, top 8 pick. Then college happened. So we'll see if he can get back on the path. Tyler Hero, I think, got picked a little bit too high. Um, he's a shot maker, sure. He's a shot maker in college. I don't think he's a shot maker in the pros. I think he falls in the way of like the Luke Kennards and all that. And I think he's on the same level. He's not Jamal Murray. He's not one of those guys that came out of Kentucky. Sekou Dumia to Detroit, Chuma Okiki to Orlando, Gogo Batatsi going to Indiana, Lucas Manich going to San Antonio. Guys, probably we're not going to hear about this season. Then your Celtics had a good draft in my opinion. Langford, sure, good little guy just to get a flyer on. Grant Williams, I like. Carson Edwards, I like.
And that's one thing I liked what the Celtics at least had a mindset to doing is, and we'll get to the buzz around the possible free agents here in a bit, but they know you have to keep the talent pool somewhat refreshed, or keep the pipeline coming in. And with these 3 picks, I like that each one addresses your scoring guard need, your wing need, and your interior need. I think all 3 of those guys are going to help out in all those facets. And now with the Celtics possibly looking at some additional cap space, and yeah, I know cap space is a pipe dream in itself, you're at least keeping yourself in a good enough position to, transition into the next, I don't want to say generation, but this next identity for the Celtics, because it's going to look different without Kyrie and without possibly Al Horford. And now that you also sent out Baines too, you're looking at a very young, very different Celtics team now, but I'm going to be optimistic about it. I like that they're going to let the kids run. It's just now are the fans, who probably won't be, going to be patient enough to let this team kind of come into its own and let the offseason play out a little bit.
Darius Baisley went to OKC. I think he's going to be a 5 to 10 minute a player. He's not going to be a big game changer. I don't think so. But he is. He's talented. If he continues to develop, sure, I can see him carving out a role, but he's not going to be somebody that is a steal in the 20s. I like Nasir Little going to the Blazers. I think he can be an impact as a 3-and-D kind of guy. I think he can be a good role player on the Blazers. I think they got a steal at 25. Jordan Poole went to the Warriors. The Warriors keep getting good players. I think Jordan Poole can be a solid rotation piece because I think what Patrick McCaw was, I think Jordan Poole is just as good or better than Patrick McCaw. I think he can steal minutes from Alfonso McKinney. I think, with Iggy and with Livingston getting a little bit older, I think Jordan Poole has a chance to play right away. I like Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson's really good. I thought Keldon Johnson was going to be a top 15 pick. He went 29 to the Spurs. The Spurs always do that, is they find people late in the draft, late in the first round, and they end up being like really good. DeJounte Murray and guys like that you see like that. It always happens to Spurs, I feel like.
Well, how would you grade Kyle Anderson? Because he was considered that Spurs pick a couple of drafts ago.
He was good. He's just the way the league is going and how fast and everything. He's the other end of the spectrum. He's a lot slower. It's the type of offense and the type of system he needs to be in to succeed. And I mean, he still got paid. He's still in the league on a second contract, made a bunch of money, is a good rotation piece. But Kyle Anderson is the type of player that you draft in the 20s. Like, I don't think he was a bust. I don't think he ended up, being better than what we thought Kyle Anderson was going to be.
Well, and that's, the joys of coming in the later first round is you got no pressure. It's like just go to summer league, develop, earn your bench duty, and then take off from there.
And then just a couple guys in the second round. Nick Claxton to the Nets. I think he's got a chance to be like one of those Clint Capella types, one of those DeAndre Jordan types. They already got one in Jared Allen. Adding another guy like that, it's going to make their front line even better. Just keep moving on. In the second round, Admiral Schofield. I love Admiral Schofield from Tennessee. He's going to Washington. Hopefully, he can stick around, play some minutes for them. Bull dropped all the way to 44, and now he's going to end up in Denver.
And what's the weird thing is Denver, and we had mentioned this off camera, this is their second reclamation project in a year. So they're buying low and trying to see what the reward could be for someone that's 7'3" and has all this God-given basketball talent, but yet struggles with off-the-court issues.
A guy from Hofstra got drafted. A guy from Yale got drafted. The Kings in the last pick of the draft took a kid from Serbia. Normal NBA stuff.
So all in all, just looking back on, and I do give the NBA credit for this. As much as I love the NFL draft, getting it done in one day is great. 2 days max. I remember the great old days of when the NFL draft was all day Saturday and all day Sunday. Now we got to make it a whole weekend, but I digress. Who had the best draft night, Rob?
Clear winners: New Orleans, Memphis, and the Hawks. Clear-cut winners.
And the biggest loser you're taking for draft night?
The Suns.
Could we call the Knicks a loser because they didn't get the number one pick?
No, and yes and no, because RJ Barrett is still going to be better than 90% of this draft.
And that was going to be my last point. 5 years from now, actually, we'll go a little bit further. We'll say 7 years from now, who will be the best player out of this draft class?
Zion.
Fair enough. So, with that, kind of wrapping up draft night, let's. This is the first time we've had a chance to talk about the NBA Finals. We were a game off, but Toronto eventually proved to be too much for Golden State. But at the same time, for Golden State to have the KD and the Clay injuries happen in consecutive games like that, it's brutal. It's just absolutely brutal for Clay, brutal for KD. But this now puts the Warriors' future in question. So if you're the Warriors front office, you have to bring these guys back, right? And just let them rehab and then keep this core together?
Depends if KD actually wants to come back. I think Clay does want to come back. Clay will be back probably around a little bit after the All-Star break. It is month 6. It is June. 8 months from now is February. I think he's back probably around February, around the All-Star break for Clay. ACL injuries are not a full 12-month process anymore. They're 8 to 12 months now with the advancement in medical technology. KD's probably going to miss the whole season. KD could potentially sign a 1-and-1. KD could potentially sign a 5-year max with the Warriors, and then they could work on trading him. KD can sign a 4-year deal with another team. KD could sign a 1-and-1 with another team and then re-up next year. KD can do whatever he wants, and you would be a fool to not pay him because of the ruptured Achilles.
I think that's what some teams and even fans need to remind themselves about. At the other end of this injury, that is still Kevin Durant. That is still one of your probably top 3 NBA players of the past 15-ish years, if you want to throw that debate up there. But the guy is a superstar through and through. He's a league MVP. He's got countless scoring titles. It's just absurd to think that some teams might hesitate pursuing him because they don't know what he's going to look like at the other end of this injury. If it's just a regular rotational guy, I would understand. But this is Kevin Durant, man. If you're the Knicks, I don't care. You still have to make KD happen, even if you have to wait next year. It's already probably going to be another lost year for the Knicks anyways with having so many young guys. So why not let them rehab and then bring them back the year after? And then you got a fresh KD, probably with another top tier first round pick, along with the other young guys you already have.
Yeah, definitely. Whoever you are, if you're Brooklyn, if you're the Clippers that are creating two max space, I wouldn't hesitate to sign KD. No, I wouldn't at all. Not 100%. 100%. The Knicks sign KD. Whoever, I'd still offer the money. The Achilles ruptures does not scare me as
So,
much as it should.
so the nightmare scenario though for the Warriors is somehow Clay and KD both walk. You have Steph, Draymond, um, and then what? Quinn Cook, he's a decent piece. Kevon Looney, I think someone's going to want to pay him after seeing what he could be before he got hurt. This could get really bad really fast for the Warriors.
It could, but I think they'll be fine. They're gonna end up getting off of Iggy's money. They're gonna end up getting off of Livingston's money. They're gonna end up getting off of KD's money. They'll be fine. They'll be perfectly fine. Steph is still a one man offense. As long as Steph is healthy and still good to go, because I think Clay is coming back. I don't think Clay's going anywhere at all. So those two, Draymond comes into shape next season, potentially bring back Boogie or somebody like that, and let Boogie rehab another year. I think the Warriors will be completely fine. It's not doom and gloom.
Are we allowed to rule out the possibility that after seeing KD sign with the Warriors, that they would probably try and make something happen with, say, Kawhi? Like, hey, you want to come join the Warriors?
I mean, they'll try. It's a lot harder for them to go sign Kawhi outright this season than it was for them to sign KD. It's like everything went well and went as like it was supposed to when they signed KD in terms of extensions, in terms of the cap going up and all that. They lucked out in having the cap room to sign KD. They are not that lucky to sign Kawhi. Kawhi would have to take like a mid-level exception to sign with them.
And that's just not happening because there's too many teams that will be willing to bend over left and right to get Kawhi onto their team. We still think it's going to be the Clippers, but can't rule anything out yet. Speaking of teams with cap space, though, apparently the Lakers forgot how cap space worked, specifically Rob Pelinka. How does nobody in that room even mention that with the Anthony Davis trade? Not one person brought it up.
I don't know. The Lakers are terribly run. Rob Pelinka is ridiculous. Rob Pelinka is like that shady salesman that just weasels his way and talks his way into a position of power. That's what Rob Pelinka is. They somehow lucked out, signed LeBron James, and traded for Anthony Davis. It cost them literally everything, but Laker fans just hope it works out, because if it doesn't, the slander just will not stop.
And what's crazy is, you have LeBron, you have AD, Kuzma. Okay, that's a cool option. Where's the room for the rest of the team to come through?
It's going to be a whole bunch of Rondos and Stevensons and
just again,
and Michael Beasley
contracts to these aging vets with limited skill set.
Yep, pretty much. You can't afford anybody else. So if they go out and they sign a max free agent, $30 million guy, Kemba, Jimmy, Kyrie, anybody like that, they're not going to be able to afford anybody else. They're better off taking that $30 million and signing like four players, like signing JJ Redick and signing Derrick Rose and signing Trevor Ariza, just signing veterans that can play 3-and-D and can go out and actually compete instead of chasing another max star, which I'm pretty sure they're going to do. They're gonna go out and they're gonna sign a Jimmy, or they're gonna sign a Kemba, or they're gonna sign a Kyrie, and then they're gonna go halfway through the season and they're gonna realize LeBron, AD, and Kyrie cannot continuously play 40 minutes a night, but it's just poor roster management. That's what it is.
I think it's just the Lakers being the Lakers. They get impatient. They want the headlines. They want to be relevant again. Yeah, you made the big splash with AD, but there has to be a follow-up plan to this. And yes, a lot can change in the next 2 weeks. We understand that. It's free agency. LeBron's doing some backdoor deal of some kind or whatever it may be, but there's always rumbles, that we see and read from, those who are, in the loop. Not everyone always wants to play with LeBron. They don't want to be in this shadow. Like, you show up to LA now, you're without a doubt the third fiddle. Like,
not 100%.
It would just be a hard sell from, like, if I was a free agent, I'm looking at the Lakers like, all right, I get it. I'm part of a super team here, but what's in it for me? Like, if things go good, it's going to go right to those guys. But when it goes bad, they're going to say, I have to step it up. That's just me looking on the outside of it. That's all. So, I mean, again, I could be wrong, and they could run up 60-plus wins, and God damn it if they win the title. God damn.
I'm betting on the under. They're not winning 60 games.
Well, when those official totals do come out and everything, we'll have to make sure I'll send you $10 to get me in on that ticket.
They're not even winning. They're not winning 55. They're lucky if they win 50.
With AD, gotta hope the body holds up. I know he has nagging injury history. We don't know what LeBron's going to be at age 35. Oh yeah, and then there's the other 3/5 of the team you have to fill. Just putting that out there. It's going to be a fun 2 weeks, man. This is when the NBA season really, really kicks in. Is just rumors flying left and right, and it was draft night, and we had Dame Lillard drop a diss track to Marvin Bagley.
Yeah, I listened to that. Marvin Bagley. I listened to Marvin Bagley's track and Dame Lillard's track. Dame Lillard won that one. Marvin Bagley had the better beat. Dame had the better bars. So
Dame was probably,
thanks for playing.
I was gonna say Dame was minding his own business. Like, hey, what is this? Not, man. Let's go downstairs. Let's go to work, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for playing, Marvin Bagley. Thanks for trying. Don't come at Dame.
Exactly. It's like, if you're gonna come, don't leave the window open for him to come back a little bit harder. Any leftover NBA thoughts, Rob?
Not too much. Waiting for free agency to happen in about a week and a half, 10 days or something before free agency starts. That's when the next big events will go. Just waiting for that, pretty much.
And then that's when we can fire up the emergency show again and hope to God that we don't have to re-record an episode literally 8 hours later. LeBron. With that being said, guys, we appreciate you tuning into this episode of the Bleacher Preacher Podcast. You can follow the show on Instagram at Bleacher Preacher Podcast, Twitter at Bleach Preach Pod. The show is available on most major podcast networks, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. We're also on the Apple Podcast Network as well. You can all find us under the same name, Bleacher Preacher Podcast. Big shout out goes to my roommate Jesse, who provided the new audio for this for the show as well. So want to go check him out on YouTube, Jaybird Drums. All original content from him as well. You can follow me on the social medias at Jonathan_R. And for you, Rob?
Rob_BPP.
And yeah, once more, thank you again, guys, for tuning into this episode. You'll be hearing from us here very soon as the NBA drama continues to unfold. And you know what? That's how we like it. The more dramatic, the more flair, the better for us. All right. Thank you again, guys, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Peace. You're killing.